Have you watched the news recently? You might have heard the economy is booming. How are these Democrats gonna run against Donald Trump with the economy doing as well as it is? And certainly he's tweeted that many times. Here's the thing, there's the economy and there's the economy. And the media is very good at focusing on the former, not as interested in focusing on the latter. So you know what, we're gonna do that here today. So first, the former. The Dow has soared past 29,000 for the first time, brushing off a week's job report. Wait, what do you mean brushing off a week? Your headline is brushing off the week jobs report. The Dow is just a measure, it can't do anything, it's not sentient. Reporters are. Maybe you should focus more on the poor jobs report and what that actually means for working Americans. But okay, the Dow is doing well. The stock market is doing well. We've heard that a lot. Here's the issue. That doesn't mean that the economy is doing well. It certainly doesn't mean that working Americans are doing well, which AOC pointed out, saying the Dow soars, wages don't, inequality in a nutshell. And the numbers really do bear that out. So let's jump into a few numbers. I wanna give credit to Business Insider because they have gone through a couple different sources of economic data and put together some visualizations that I think are very helpful. So the Dow does soar, stock market, pretty much no matter what the experience for regular Americans is always gonna do well. And you'll see that here, going back literally years, aside from that whole recession thing, it has generally been trending up. Under Obama, under Donald Trump, there's little dips and stuff like that, but for the most part, it has been going up. And that to the media means that the economy is doing well. But what about for the actual people who are generating the economic productivity that then is reflected in measures like you're seeing over here on my left? Well, if you look at the effect on wages, the money that people make, average hourly wage growth looks more like this. And understand that that is not factoring in inflation. It's also, I'm thankful to Business Insider for making this chart, but they are zooming in on just 0 to 4% growth, okay? So that is making it look like more than it actually is. If your wages go up 1.5%, you're not yelling cha-ching as you run through the streets. And when inflation is more than that, you have actually lost money. Now look, there are some years, if you go back over the past 13 years, there's some years where it's 2, 3, almost 4% wage growth. But again, you have to factor in inflation, which is gonna eat up most, if not all, or even more than all of that wage growth. And this is why it's important to focus on the effect on workers. You can't simply say the stock market is doing well and assume that that's going to benefit everyone. It could, hypothetically, if the ownership of stocks was evenly distributed across different wage percentiles. It could be if everybody had the ability, the economic strength necessary to contribute to their 401k, that could be good news for people's retirement in the long run. But that is simply not how stock ownership actually works. If you look at the share of Americans who own stocks by net worth, well, look at that. I mean, if you have a lot of net worth, then you're gonna own a big share, a majority share. For the top 10% of those by net worth, you own a majority of all the stocks. Most of the rest is consumed by those in the top 25%. So once you get down to people who are struggling wages-wise, they're also not getting anything out of these gains in the stock market. I mean, even at 50 to 75%, that's the middle class, right? That's just 13% of all the stocks and virtually nothing down at the bottom. And even that chart, which I think lays clear who owns the stocks, hides how little the stock ownership matters for those at the bottom of that scale. Let's talk about the value of stock holdings by net worth, and you're gonna see that it's even more disproportionate. So there, those in the top 10% by net worth, they don't just own more of the stocks, they own far more value in those stocks. And even once you get down to 75 to 90%, okay, they have on average $28,000. That's something, it'll save you, in the short term if there's some sort of emergency, but beyond that, there's virtually no value in those stocks. Even the middle class owns virtually nothing, even when they are lucky enough to own stocks at all. And once you get down to the working class, it's nothing. It's not gonna save you if you have a dental emergency, let alone something more dire than that. So look, you could talk about the value of the stock market, and I understand that the corporations that own your media companies, they're doing quite well as a result of this economy booming. But for regular working Americans, that is simply not the case. You need to go at least a little bit deeper to get to the experience that regular Americans are having, and it is anything but a boom for them. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.